king of German mercenaries.
Chapter 174 Adler to be conferred. In February, news suddenly came from Cleaver City. John II wanted to canonize Adler as an official knight. The whole family was very surprised. In fact, it was not easy for the son of a knight with a territory to inherit the title of knight. Generally speaking, a new knight would be canonized only after the previous knight was old. Old Hoffmann was only in his 40s, not yet 50, and it was not time for him to retire. Therefore, if Adler wanted to inherit the title, he would generally have to wait a few more years. However, Marin helped the Lamarck family a lot this time. Because his brother became the Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights, the prestige of the Lamarck family has increased greatly recently, making John II more proud when he goes out. Moreover, the Lamarck family can also obtain tangible benefits. Although the business in the Principality of Cleaver and the counties of Mark was not well developed, the Lamarck family still had several caravans. The Teutonic Kingdom was a region with developed business. Moreover, the food, wood and fur in Eastern Europe were very cheap in the Teutonic Kingdom, and there was still a lot of profit in transporting them back to the Rhine region. Food is fine, after all, the area near the Rhine is also a grain-producing area, so there is no shortage of food here. However, wood and fur are in short supply. Although there are some forests along the Rhine River and there is a lot of wood, the local wood is not what the market needs and is unsaleable. In Europe, the wood that is really marketed is oak and pine. Needless to say, oak has always been the main material for shipbuilding and house building. Not only that, Europeans are also accustomed to using oak to make barrels for wine and beer. Therefore, the demand for oak is very large. In Western Europe, due to the large-scale felling and utilization, oak has become less and less. Therefore, the price of local oak has risen a lot. According to the information brought by the merchants, John II knew that there was still a large amount of oak in Eastern Europe, where the level of development was not yet high. In addition to the low level of development in Eastern Europe, there is also the fact that the local people in Eastern Europe rarely use oak. Because Eastern Europeans do not engage in great voyages. Therefore, not many people in Eastern Europe use oak to build ships. And shipbuilding consumes a lot of oak. It is said that the price of oak in the Teutonic Kingdom is less than half of the price on the Rhine River. Selling oak timber from the Teutonic Kingdom is definitely profitable. As for pine, it is also very popular because of its unique aroma. However, since its use value is far less than that of oak, the demand is not very large. As for fur, it is also not valuable in Eastern Europe. Because, east of the Baltic Sea region is the vast Eastern European steppe. There are so many animals on the steppe that a few hunters can hunt a large number of prey. However, the preservation technology is backward these days, and only animal fur is easier to preserve and can be sold over long distances. In Western Europe, except for sparsely populated areas such as the Black Forest, there are still many animal resources, but there are few wild animals in other areas. Marin was able to catch a lot of prey in the Black Forest because he rode his horse deep into the forest. If he was on the periphery, there would be no prey at all. Because most of the hunters could not afford horses and could not go deep into the forest, but they cleared the periphery of the forest. Therefore, the price of animal fur in Western Europe is much more expensive than that in Eastern Europe, and the price is more than twice that in Eastern Europe. Therefore, whether it is selling oak or fur from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, it is quite profitable. As for the trade license to enter the Teutonic Knights, will there be any problem with the Lamarck family, where the new Grand Master belongs, if it weren't for the fact that the Duchy of Cleaver and the Earldom of Mark were both inland principalities and had no salt mines, and could not get involved in the most lucrative salt trade, John II would have wanted to get involved in the salt trade. However, in this era, salt was originally a strategic material and it was difficult for ordinary people to get it. Therefore, the Lamarck family had no choice but to give up this big piece of fat meat when there was no source of goods. However, the salt trade on the Marin side also promised to give Grand Master Philip 40% of the profits, after paying off the loan, which was also very good. With the huge benefits of fame and fortune, John II decided to thank the Hoffmann family. However, Marin was a lord of some size and was very rich, so John II had nothing good to offer as a reward. However, if he wanted to reward Marin's relatives, John II, who was also Earl Mark, had a way. For example, he could appoint Adler as an official knight of the Marxist state in advance. It was not difficult for John II to canonize a knight. However, for a young man like Adler who had no title, it was a qualitative leap. After the canonization, Adler would go from being a candidate noble to a real noble, which would bring about a huge change in his status. Moreover, John II also stated that he would give an extra piece of land to the Hoffmann family this time. As for which piece of land, John II even allowed the Hoffmann family to choose as long as it was near the Hoffmann manor. Therefore, when John II sent someone to Denburg to deliver a message, saying that he would canonize Adler as an official knight and promise to grant him more land, everyone was very happy except Marin. It was quite rare for both father and son to be active official knights. In general, knight families would wait until the old ones retired before letting the next generation take over, and they had to pass strict assessments. This time, John II was just repaying Marin's favor, so he just let Adler go over there for a bit. The canonization of the eldest son as a knight was a very solemn matter for Hoffmann Manor, so old Hoffmann decided to take the whole family with him. In fact, old Hoffmann had been complaining that the emperor was too casual in conferring the title of Baron on Marin, without holding a solemn ceremony and without inviting his father to the scene to honor him. Therefore, for being able to witness his eldest son's promotion to knight, although the significance of this achievement was far less than that of his second son, old Hoffmann was still very happy that he could show off his achievements. Marin was originally thinking about whether to go, after all, he had a lot of things to do. However, Yenching reported that the newly added salt boiling pot lacked coal as fuel. Marin thought about it and decided to go back to Mark country, attend Adler's promotion ceremony, and then discuss the issue of coal supply. Not only that, when selecting the newly added fiefdom, Marin would also suggest finding a new coal mine. Because Marin had promised to give Adler a large piece of farmland in the East Frisian county in the future. So this time, Adler didn't need to choose much farmland. Moreover, the fiefdom area of a knight of the county was also limited, not more than 500 uglum. So, it was better to choose a coal mine than farmland. After all, as a big customer, he could still buy a large amount of coal in a long-term and stable manner, which could make the economic benefits of the coal mine higher than that of farmland. To this end, Marin also planned to find a few great craftsmen who were exploring coal mines, and go with him to select a new coal mine as the new fiefdom for Adler to be rewarded this time. Of course, the family members would understand why John II conferred the title of Adler in advance and gave him an extra piece of land, so they would respect Marin's opinion. So, the Hoffmann family, including Angela who went to watch the fun, rushed to Markburg, the capital of Mark, under the escort of hundreds of guards, to attend Adler's promotion ceremony. Chapter 175, The Expansion of Zurich. Before leaving, Marin received a very special news. The Swiss expanded eastwards. To be precise, it was the most powerful canton of Zurich in the Swiss Confederation that expanded eastwards. The canton of Zurich is the most populous and powerful canton in the Swiss Confederation. Generally speaking, the canton of Zurich maintains a standing army of 8,000 people, Zurich Corps, which is very powerful. On the other hand, some small Swiss cantons only have a standing army of 1,000 people. At that time, the standing army of a European superpower like France was only 20,000 strong. The Habsburg dynasty had only 16,500 standing troops. For a small state like Zurich to maintain a force of 8,000 Swiss mercenaries was definitely a strong force. As it became stronger, the people of Zurich were dissatisfied with their small territory. You know, not only Zurich, but even the whole of Switzerland is mainly plateaus, with very little flat land. But in the Swabia region of Germany, not far from Zurich, there are a lot of fertile plains. Moreover, the Swabian League was only a loose alliance, and none of its individual powers were strong, especially some princes close to the canton of Zurich, who were relatively weak. The Zurich people seemed to be very cautious at the moment, conducting a tentative attack. Of course, before the attack, they would find some excuses or something, at least they had to be reasonable. In fact, in the original history, the people of Zurich began to expand northeastward to the Swabian region in 1496. However, that was mainly because the conflict between Austria and Hungary broke out again in 1496, and they had no time to look west. Moreover, the Holy Roman Empire did not appear in the Italian War and had no deterrent power at all, but this time and space is different. Because of the appearance of Marin, the Holy Roman Empire made a big splash in the First Italian War and made a lot of money. Therefore, Hungary was frightened and did not dare to move. Austria and Hungary did not fight, and Zurich did not dare to move for a while. But after a year or two, the people of Zurich gradually recovered from the pressure caused by the Holy Roman Empire's victory on the Italian battlefield. Later, the Zurich parliamentarians believed that the German army might be strong on the plains, they were just scaring themselves, but on the Swiss plateau, the Swiss were not afraid of anyone. So, between the end of 1497 and the beginning of 1498, the people of Zurich began to frequently provoke the lords of the Swabian region in order to find an excuse to attack. In fact, Zurich had already fought a battle with the lord of the Singen region in the northeast and occupied several towns including Gerlingen and Gottmadingen. Therefore, the news reached the Wadden Islands through merchants who went to the south to do business. Moreover, strangely, although the Swabian League had begun to mobilize to fight against the Swiss, the Emperor Maximilian I, the biggest backer of the Swabian League, remained silent and did not clearly stand up to support the Swabian League. Of course, Marin could guess the Emperor's thoughts. He was still not giving up on the Swiss and was thinking about hiring Swiss mercenaries in the future. However, Marin felt that the Emperor was taking things for granted. Because the Swiss occupied the territory that originally belonged to the Habsburg family, there was a natural conflict between them and the Emperor. If the Swiss joined the Emperor's army and helped him fight, maybe one day, when the Emperor became powerful, he would come to reclaim his former homeland. In the face of such an irreconcilable contradiction as land ownership, it was difficult for the Emperor and the Swiss to come to an agreement. Therefore, the Emperor took things for granted. It was precisely because the Emperor, the most powerful member of the alliance, did nothing and allowed the Swiss to do whatever they wanted that the victory of the canton of Zurich continued to expand. Later, the Zurich people had occupied more than 200 towns of the Swabian League and almost crippled the Swabian League. At this time, the Emperor finally realized that something was wrong and stood up to speak for the Swabian League, but it was too late for the Emperor to intervene. The Swiss had already shown strong confidence and were unwilling to stop. So in early 1499, the Emperor finally sent troops to fight the Swiss. Thus, the Swabian War broke out. However, in front of the high-spirited Swiss army, the Emperor's army also retreated step by step, and the highest general was even killed. In the end, the Emperor had no choice but to sign a contract with the Swiss, indirectly recognizing the Swiss independence in exchange for the Swiss returning the occupied territory of the Swabian League. From then on, the Swiss began to be independent in fact and no longer accepted the management of the empire. After the end of the 30 Years' War, in 1648, the Swiss saw the weakness of the empire and simply declared complete independence. When Marin received the news that the Zurich people began to expand, he realized that the prelude to the Swabian War had begun. Historically, this war had a significant impact on the emperor. Because of his defeat in this war, the emperor's prestige plummeted and he was almost deposed by the bigwigs in the imperial parliament. Of course, in this time and space, because of Marin's arrival, the emperor may not lose the Swabian War. Because the emperor still has Marin as his trump card. The Spanish phalanx created by Marin has a strong ability to restrain the Swiss spear formation. Even if the Swiss mercenaries in the front row are wearing breastplate armor, they can't withstand the powerful impact of the powerful musket. Moreover, Marin also emphasized digging trenches to block the Swiss spear charge. As long as his own army goes out, it will be difficult for the emperor to lose. However, for his own benefit, Marin will not respond to the emperor's call at the beginning. Because if Marin sends troops too early and successfully helps the emperor defeat the Swiss, then there may be no benefits in exchange. Only when the emperor and the Swabian League were completely defeated, and Marin appeared at this most difficult moment, as the vanguard to collide with the Swiss spear formation and defeat the Swiss fairly, could he gain the greatest. Moreover, if Marin could defeat the Swiss, he could also make a name for himself and become a popular figure in the mercenary world. In short, Marin's plan was to let the emperor fight the Swiss first. When the emperor was beaten black and blue by the Swiss, he would come out as a savior, charge forward, and repel the Swiss. At that time, he would not only gain the maximum benefit from the crisis, but also gain great reputation. However, according to history, the Swiss and Swabians fought for more than 2 years before the emperor finally intervened. Even if history changes, it is unlikely that the emperor would intervene at the beginning. Therefore, Marin does not need to be too anxious. When things happen, who knows when it will happen, there was enough time for Marin to prepare and train his troops before the incident. At least, Marin could take over East Frisia and consolidate his rule during this period. Chapter 176 successfully conferred. Even if Marin knew what was happening in Switzerland, he couldn't intervene at the moment, mainly because he didn't have the ability. In fact, as a lord, Marin didn't like the existence of Switzerland. It's not that Marin has a grudge against the Swiss, but the political system of Switzerland is very different from that of other countries. The current Swiss Confederation is composed of about 10 states. And each state seems to have a lot of autonomy. This is somewhat like the Federation of later generations, or it should be said that the Federation of later generations like the old American Federation was actually learned from Switzerland. In each state of Switzerland, a democratic system similar to that of the ancient Greek city-states is implemented. Therefore, Switzerland is the source of modern democracy. Later, the Republic of the 7 Provinces of the Netherlands was actually learned from Switzerland. Moreover, a few decades later, a terrible Protestant religion was born in Switzerland, Calvinism. Calvinism may not be a big deal to ordinary people, but it is too terrible for nobles. Because Calvinism advocates equality and decentralization of power. Perhaps it is indeed a progressive sect. However, the but determines the head. Marin has become a nobleman, and will become a great nobleman in the future. Therefore, Marin's position is naturally opposed to the federal democratic system of Switzerland. The reason why Calvinism developed in Switzerland was not because of Calvin's independent invention, but because of the various doctrines he summarized based on the current experience of Switzerland's city-state democratic system. Since the day Calvinism was born, it has been fighting with the nobles. When Calvinism spread to the Netherlands, the Dutch rose up, overthrew the rule of the Habsburg family, and established a republic without a king. When Calvinism spread to France, it was called Huguenots. The Huguenots also set off a huge storm in France, fought a desperate battle with Catholicism, and caused a bloody French civil war. Calvinism spread to Britain, first in Scotland, where the Presbyterian Church was established, and then in England. Calvinists in Britain were called Puritans, a group that was very keen on rebelling and killing the king. It was the leader of this group, Cromwell, who chopped off the head of King Charles I. The Huguenots, a French branch of Calvinism, were also an important force behind the French Revolution. Louis XVI was not a bad guy, but he was still instigated by the Huguenots to have his head chopped off. So, in conclusion, Calvinism is a sect that is very keen on rebellion and is very keen on killing kings and nobles. Faced with such a sect, Marin certainly wanted to destroy it. However, the founder of the sect, Calvin, had not yet been born. Moreover, Marin was also worried that even if Calvin was killed, it would not be able to prevent the birth of another new sect similar to Calvinism. Because Calvinism was nothing more than a summary of Switzerland's political lifestyle, which was then extended to other parts of Europe, triggering various revolutions. Therefore, as long as a federal system like Switzerland exists, it is difficult to avoid the birth of a king-killing sect like Calvinism. Marin, now a great lord and perhaps a king in the future, is very disgusted with such a sect. But the most fundamental way to prevent the emergence of such a sect is to destroy the Swiss Confederation and return Switzerland to the order of aristocratic rule. However, the Swiss were very strong and could mobilize 30,000 to 40,000 spearmen. Because Switzerland has always had a tradition of universal military service. Therefore, although the population of Switzerland is less than 1 million, there are really many mercenaries. King Charles VIII of France alone recruited 25,000 Swiss mercenaries, far exceeding the recruitment requirements. Therefore, to eradicate the cancer of the feudal era in Switzerland, Marin was not qualified at least, and had to develop slowly first. Only when he had strength could he help the emperor eliminate the Swiss Confederation. Of course, that was all later. Right now, what Marin had to do was to accompany his family to Markburg to watch Adler's knighthood ceremony. The whole family, escorted by a large group of cavalry, arrived at Markburg a few days later, and John II had been waiting for them at the Markburg Palace. As an ally, Marin naturally went in to visit John II, and then discussed how to help Grand Master Philip quickly gain a foothold in the Teutonic Knights and how to obtain trade benefits in the Teutonic Knights. Marin naturally talked eloquently, using all kinds of modern viewpoints to confuse John II, a native of the Middle Ages. John II was filled with emotion. Why can't such a talent work for me? John II actually wanted to appoint Marin as his prime minister, because Marin not only knew how to train soldiers and fight, but also how to make money. The West Frisian Islands alone could come up with nearly 100,000 gold coins to help Philip run for the position of Grand Master of the Teutonic Order. You know, as the ruler of the two powerful countries, the Principality of Clever and the Earldom of Mark, John II himself could not come up with 100,000 gold coins. Let alone 100,000 gold coins, even 50,000 gold coins would be difficult. Of course, it's not that the two vassal states don't have that much money, but the two countries' spending is also staggering. Even if there is so much fiscal revenue, the expenditure is also very large, and there is no way to have so much money left. In this era, because of the huge expenses, many nobles actually want to have a subordinate who can help them make a lot of money. In this way, they can spend more happily and freely. However, Marin was destined to be Maximilian I's man. Moreover, he was the lord of an autonomous region and a local tyrant in the West Frisian Islands. There was no need for him to become a prime minister in a principality. In terms of spare money, Marin probably had more than John II. Why would he serve a poor duke? However, John II was not stupid. Even if he could not win over Marin to serve him, he could still build a good relationship with Marin. Because Marin was a real talent. Maybe one day, he would be able to use him. And now, Marin has helped Philip a lot. It is also very honorable for the Lamarck family to have a Teutonic leader. Therefore, the Lamarck family must accept this favor. Adler's promotion ceremony was solemn but simple. There were many people watching, many of whom were hired by John II and some of the Hoffmann family's friends. The specific process is also simple. Adler will come out first and show off his martial arts and horsemanship like a monkey. Then, Count Mark John II will send a knight from the palace to fight 2 battles with Adler. One on foot and one on horseback. If he wins both, he will naturally be qualified, and then the canonization will be a matter of course. Since John II was just going through the motions, he naturally wouldn't really embarrass Adler. So, he sent a weaker knight from the inner court to fight against the tall and strong Adler. Moreover, this knight also let Adler win. In fact, even without waterproofing, this skinny knight was no match for Adler. So Adler easily defeated the knight and successfully passed the test. Moreover, what impressed Marin was that although the knight was letting the water out, his expression was extremely serious and desperate, as if he had tried his best. Marin not only secretly gave this knight 120 thumbs up, his acting skills were really amazing. If there were TV movies now, this guy might be a star. Look at how desperate he was when he attacked. Look at how painful he was after being hit. In fact, Adler didn't use much strength to avoid hurting his opponent. However, this guy was only lightly touched by Adler, but he flew backwards for several meters and screamed miserably. His expression was as if he was crushed by Tarzan, and the unaware onlookers were worried about him. After this performance-like assessment, John II personally issued Adler the appointment document, signed it on the spot, and sent his confidant to help Adler cut off the tail of the swallowtail flag, symbolizing that Adler had officially changed from an apprentice knight to a formal knight master. All the spectators stood up and applauded, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Of course, there was no Zhao Ritian jumping out and shouting, "I don't accept it," like in a TV show. Then, John II held a court reception to entertain the Hoffmann family and many guests who came to watch the ceremony. After the reception, John II set off to return to the Principality of Clever, where he usually stayed. But before leaving, he asked the Chancellor of the Palace, Mark, to send someone to follow the Hoffmann family to the vicinity of the Hoffmann estate to identify a place of 500 uglums to be allocated to Adler as an additional land. Chapter 177 Selecting a Coal Mine. After leaving Markburg, Marin and his family did not go directly to find the address of the fiefdom. Instead, they first brought the documents sent by the Prime Minister of Mark Castle back to Hoffmann Manor and entertained them with delicious food and drinks. Then, Marin and his family discussed the selection of new fiefdoms. Originally, the old Hoffmann couple planned to choose farmland. However, they had to listen to Marin's opinion. Because, after all, John II was willing to promote Adler to a knight ahead of schedule and give the Hoffmann family an extra fiefdom, all for Marin's sake. Otherwise, how could John II care about a small knight family like the Hoffmann family? Marin wanted to choose the coal mine, so the old Hoffmanns and the Adlers naturally had to agree. So, Marin sent people to invite several prospecting engineers from Dortmund to start exploring coal veins near Hoffmann Estate. At the beginning, Marin asked the prospector to explore around Hoffmann Estates. Because the anthracite produced in Hoffmann Estates is of very good quality and is also suitable as fuel. The key is that anthracite produces less smoke and the air pollution is not as serious as bituminous coal. You know, when bituminous coal is burned, it not only produces thick smoke, but also emits a pungent smell, which pollutes the air greatly. Therefore, if the prospector could discover the vein direction of the anthracite mine in Hoffmann Estates, it would be a good choice to take over the anthracite mine as a whole. However, after several days of exploration and drilling with the help of workers, several prospecting engineers did not find any large coal veins in the surrounding area. In other words, even if the coal mine extends to other places underground, it is deeper underground. At least, it cannot be seen from drilling on the ground. Because, these days, drilling is done manually, not by machines, and it is good. At such a depth, there is no result. Of course, for Marin, this depth is enough, because the difficulty and cost of mining open-pit mines and deep mines are completely different. In this era, coal was not valued by people, and most coal mines were not developed, including many open-pit coal mines. Therefore, Marin did not need to spend a lot of money to mine deep underground mines, but could give priority to those shallow or open-pit mines. Moreover, deep coal mines are also very dangerous. If you are not careful, there will be a gas explosion or something. Because the combustible gas gathers underground, it is easy to explode when it encounters an open flame. However, deep coal mines cannot be lit without a fire, otherwise there will be no light. Because there are no mining lamps in those days, only torches can be used for lighting. When the torch encounters gas, open-pit coal mines do not have such dangers. If they are in the open air or buried shallowly, the combustible gases will easily disperse and will not gather together to explode. In addition, the difficulty of mining is different, and the cost is different. Therefore, if you are not a fool, you will definitely understand that it is better to choose an open-pit coal mine than a deep-well coal mine. In the Ruhr area at this time, many open-pit coal mines have not been mined, and they are also regarded as rotten land because they are not suitable for farming. Marin led several prospectors on horseback and began to search near Hoffman Manor. Of course, they had the exploration permit issued by the Court of Mark. Otherwise, in some places, the landlords would not allow them to enter. As for the place that Marin found, if it originally had an owner, John II promised that he could exchange it for another piece of land that was no worse than the original one and had more arable land. In this way, Marin, along with several prospectors and a group of strong serfs responsible for drilling holes, ran across the land of the Ruhr region belonging to the Marker country, looking for the legendary open-pit coal mine. There are many coal mines in the Ruhr area. Marin and his team actually found several open-pit coal mines nearby. But what makes Marin depressed is that the two best open-pit coal mines are in the hands of local nobles. Nobles are not commoners, and they have the confidence to refuse to exchange land. John II promised Marin that if he found a coal mine, he could exchange it for arable land. However, that was for commoners. Besides, commoners dared not refuse John II. However, nobles are different. Their ancestral fiefdoms cannot be moved without sufficient reasons, even by John II. If they are not willing to change places, John II cannot force them to do so. The other three open-pit coal mines could be exchanged. However, Marin took the craftsmen to conduct an on-site survey and found that the quality of the coal was not very good. In short, these three open-pit coal mines were not anthracite, but bituminous coal. To be honest, if you want to develop the steel industry, bituminous coal is an indispensable raw material for coking. However, in this day and age, even if you vigorously develop the steelmaking industry, who will you sell the steel you produce to? You know, this is the agricultural age. Even if a lot of steel is produced, it can only be used to make farm tools and weapons, and it has very few other uses. It is not like the industrial age, when a lot of steel is needed to make machines. Therefore, there is no need to spend so much effort on the steel industry these days. If we want to develop it, we have to wait until the steam engine is invented. In other words, in this era, anthracite, which is more suitable as a fuel, is more important than bituminous coal. As for Marin, he also needed some bituminous coal for the small-scale steel industry. Marin didn't have to worry about this because there was a bituminous coal mine in Gelsenkirchen, where his sister-in-law Liv's family lived. If he needed bituminous coal, he could just buy it from the Hamler family, and it was at a friendly price. Therefore, what Marin needs now is anthracite rather than bituminous coal. In desperation, Marin continued to lead the team to survey, gradually moving away from Hoffman Manor. Finally, half a month later, Marin found a large open-pit coal mine southwest of Bochum, and it was a high-quality anthracite mine. This place belonged to a local gentry family. This gentry was actually also a descendant of a knight, but he was not the eldest son and had lost his noble status, becoming an ordinary gentry. Moreover, the family did not develop or utilize this large coal mine. They just dug some coal for their own use, such as burning firewood for cooking. When the clerk of the court of Count Mark expressed his willingness to exchange the farmland along the Ruhr River for it, the gentleman immediately agreed. In fact, the gentleman knew that coal could be sold for money. However, the biggest problem was, who would you sell it to? In this era, few people buy coal, but there are coal mines everywhere in the Ruhr area. Therefore, even if you have coal mines, it is difficult to sell them without connections. If you can't sell the coal, you won't get any money. So, it's better to exchange it for some farmland. After all, there is no situation where grain cannot be sold. In this way, Marin successfully obtained a large coal mine that was much larger than the Hoffman Estates coal mine and produced high-quality anthracite. This coal mine is located in the southwest of Bochum, only 7 or 8 kilometers away from the Ruhr River. It is easy to transport coal to the Ruhr River. Of course, the prerequisite is that Marin must first build a gravel road leading to the river. Then, build a dock to facilitate the loading of coal. However, Marin was not in a hurry to develop the coal mine. Because, although he had expanded the number of salt boiling pots in Yencheng and needed more coal, the coal mine in Hoffman Manor could still meet the demand by hiring more miners. After all, the coal mine in Hoffman Manor has already achieved production and has relatively complete facilities. Recruiting more miners can increase production in a short period of time. Unlike the newly acquired coal mine, it will take at least several months to achieve production, including paving roads and developing mines. By then, the opportunity will be gone. Therefore, for now, it is better to increase the production of the coal mine at home. As for the newly acquired coal mine, it can be occupied first and developed when needed. Of course, the road and dock construction can be done in advance, but the development of the coal mine can be delayed. Moreover, this new fiefdom, named Mrs. Mary's Manor, by old Hoffman to please his wife, also has 100 ugrams of arable land. Moreover, the gentry who had moved away left a row of houses. However, he took all the serfs away. If you want serfs, you have to recruit them yourself. But now the German region is not short of surplus population. Otherwise, German mercenaries cannot develop. However, it was already March, and spring plowing had already begun. Both Hoffman Manor and the newly purchased Lady Mary Manor had to start spring plowing. Therefore, Lady Mary had to hurry up to recruit serfs. As the owner of the Wadden Islands, Marin also had to rush back to the Wadden Islands to supervise the spring plowing. So, after determining the new coal mine site, Marin paid the wages, sent away the prospecting craftsmen, returned to Hoffman Manor to pack up, and prepared to return to the Wadden Islands.